Ladies and gentlemen, wait a second. My camera's off.
Yep.
What? Can I be off camera in my own show?
It's my show now.
I don't see why not. We have this illustration of your face, and you never get to use it.
I mean, except for every single thumbnail.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true.
And half the openings.
But you never get to
Yeah,
speak
sometimes.
to it.
Oh my gosh, it's the worst.
Yeah.
Great show. This is
There,
wonderful.
that way I fit in.
Yeah.
it's just
Talking Head Show.
Wouldn't be the first one.
oh my goodness. Come on. What the heck?
Donovan Reese says, "Hush, the stream is starting."
Hush, the stream is starting. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. It's not gonna let me. I try to turn on the thing and it's just like select device. It's just not.
Yeah, it's
letting
annoying.
me-
It doesn't like you to switch midstream.
Yeah, well, I think I know what's going on,
I had that
and I
problem
just
myself.
have to fix it. No, it's just not even doing that. Okay, I don't know. Let's see what happens here. Reload something.
Well, this
Off
is
to a great
going
start.
great start. Riveting.
Let's just be honest. Reese just really doesn't want to talk about Hush.
He doesn't.
I gave him an out. I gave him like 2 or 3 outs.
Yeah.
Because
The thing
Hey,
is,
you
if
know
he
what?
doesn't talk about it now, he's never going to talk about it. So he's
Right.
got to get it out of the way.
yeah, I
It'll
guess.
explode. It's like when I go to the theater to watch a movie, even if it's horrible, I stick to the end.
Well, why don't we just first let the audience know we're talking about Batman Hush, and as long as we're waiting for Reese, we've already said he hates it. Go around, Metal, start with you. What, yay or nay? What did you think? Like, generally,
I didn't reread it, so I haven't read it since like the early aughts. I remembered being mildly disappointed by it. I didn't hate it, but it just didn't jive with me.
Mm-hmm. Twitless.
I love Hush.
Okay.
It's one of my favorites. It is a comfort read for me, and I actually bought the 20th anniversary edition, which has some interview with Loeb and Lee, including them hinting at Hush 2, which is coming out right now, actually, currently in, I think, Detective Comics, or is it Batman? I think it's Batman. So it's currently in the Batman line. They're doing a follow-up to Hush 20 years later, and they're currently about, I think it's going to be a 6-issue run. They're about 4 issues into it, so if you guys are interested, this is a throwback stream, but in a way, it's very timely, because this is a storyline that has been... it's had enough behind it to prompt a resurgence, a sequel.
It's so weird though, because like the continuities aren't even the same anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
I
Well,
mean,
how about Cartoonica?
yeah.
Let's give Cartoonicus a chance. And
Okay, well, first, can I talk about Batman comics and their story arcs having the strange ability to give us titles that completely throw me off as to what it's going to be about every time? You name something The Long Halloween, I expect it's going to be about Halloween, right? You name something, say, War Games, I figure it's going to be about war.
yeah,
You name something Hush, I'm thinking there's going to be some kind of major secret everyone's trying to keep. And every time they do this to me.
yeah.
And there is a war in War Games, and there is a
It's a
secret in
gang
Hush.
war, but it's not literally War Games.
I mean,
Well, I'm back.
Hey, we're just going
Finally.
around saying whether we liked it or hated it.
Okay.
Generally,
or something in between.
I didn't love it like Twitless. It was generally until the last chapter or two kind of started getting a little chaotic, and it was hard to tell exactly what was really going on there, or if I was right about what I thought was going on. So, that soured the mood a little bit. But then, funny, well, talking about this in Messenger, Reese said something about what he didn't like about it, which going back over made me like it better.
Okay.
Okay. What is
And-
that?
How are you talking about how much like a TV show it is, and how it is like self-contained? You have the monster of the week, in each issue, 22 minutes, all that stuff. Honestly, that kind of thing intrigues me and makes it more interesting. I like individual stellar storytelling that can also be serialized. I don't like to be continued all the time. So it was kind of neat to see it through that lens and be like, huh, that's actually kind of cool.
Well, my point was that it's not a comic at all, but
Yeah, and I'm okay with that.
I will say that this is my favorite version of the Long Halloween.
Oh, that's funny.
Because it's very much. It was funny because Reese dropped a point about this, and I totally he kind of stole my thunder because I was gonna say this before he even mentioned it. I was like, this is the Long Halloween, a lot, but it's not. It's interesting how a lot of writers have like fewer stories than you think they do. Even if they write hundreds of stories, oftentimes they hit the same notes. Like Gene Luen Yang has written like the same story like a dozen times. He tweaks a few things. It's the same story, but it's not to criticize him so much because like a lot of people in academia do the same thing. They have like one academic article or position and they make their whole career on that and they just spin it off and recolor it, change the window dressing, and if you can make it work, it's actually easier. You don't have to do as much original thought. So this is definitely the Long Halloween again, but I actually like this better. I would reread Hush many more times. I'm at the point with the Long Halloween, apart from Tim Sale's gorgeous noir art, it's just such a slog to get through overall. And it feels like
That is true. This was a much more fun read than Long Halloween.
Yeah, I just have so much. I just have fun. It is it's some of the most fun. I think it's generational to a degree. We can get into that as well. We were talking about last week about how there is sort of a 1986 coziness to Byrne's Superman, and for me this was 2000s cozy because I remember picking Hush off the shelf at my local library. And this was back. I was not a monthly reader of superhero comics, but this was a very, easily accessible way for me to get a bunch of Batman content. And I would say that this is where I think the generational part comes in. I think this is very definitively superheroes circa 2000s, because this one comes out. This is 2002. 2002. So it's right around the turn of the century. This is superheroes as we get them in the 2000s, and I think it's having gone back and seen things that also came out around the same time, which have not aged very well at all. I think this one is about as good as you're going to get in the 2000s.
Okay.
But that can say a lot about where we are in our comic book reading. You know what I mean? Like there are some people whose definitive Batman is going to be Silver Age or Golden Age, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've grown to love it all. And so I love Hush, but I'm also, if someone says, "Oh man, my definitive Batman is Arpaio or Dixon," I'm gonna be like, "Well, I love that too." So just positioning myself where I'm at. I kind of love everything, so but I love Hush.
Can I give mine and then
no,
we'll go to
do.
Reese?
I would like to go last.
So, okay, so so he likes it. Cartoonicus and Metal, not much, and I don't know what to think of this one because it's like it's a self-contained story, but it's canon, and it's like these guys haven't done Batman, so let's do. This is like our Batman. It's Jim Lee doing a year-long Batman. He gets to do this, and so each issue is like him showing off Catwoman, him showing off Harley Quinn for this month. Each one is a different villain for the month, and it's like I don't know why it's not a major story. It really isn't, and the whole thing about he has a lifelong friend who's one of the best doctors in the world, but he's never talked to him since a long time ago. It's like, you mean when the first time Harvey had his head blown half off, he never reached out to his friend, the best doctor in the world, to say, what can you do for him? It's like, it's like you can't backdate it that he has a friend who's the best doctor in the world. And it's like that affects a whole bunch of stories. I'm sorry.
Well, to be fair, this is, I don't know if I should bring the spoiler up here about Harvey's face.
Yeah, well, this is just my summary. Just let me.
The fact that they had to use I'm just saying the fact that they had to use the Lazarus Pits to do that could be, used as a way to say, well, he was beyond all hope anyway. Other than that, a magical.
I don't think
They didn't use the Lazarus Pits for his face.
Well,
Yeah,
that was
let's
the
just
impression I got.
we're in a Hutch. Finish your
The Lazarus Pit was for the Riddler who had cancer, who's never had cancer that we knew of, but it's explained at the end. That's no, the doctor was handing out amazing surgery, and we aren't worried about spoilers on this 25-year-old story, right?
I don't think so. And
Okay.
And if when we get to it later on, we'll talk about
my
that.
big problem with it is that Batman's trying to find help for Harold, and again never turns to his friend, one of the best surgeons in the world, who actually can help Harold when Harold goes to him, or that guy approaches Harold separately. And this is one of those, hey, let's introduce a new friend who's now important to the timeline type things. I just didn't like that.
I think there's an avenue that I didn't read it that way, but we don't have to go down that tangent.
Okay.
Well,
that's it for me.
I do think this does show us something. You're right, Twidless, when you talk about there being perhaps a generational thing, because both Hutch and Reese are going to have so much more experience reading Batman comics than we are. That continuity problem is going to be more extreme because of that.
More about continuity than Jeff Loeb has ever written.
So
he's ever paid attention to.
I've read a lot.
This was every page in this comic was an insult to me. I got done with this comic this morning, and I nearly called everybody up and said, we can't do this week. I might cancel the entire show. Maybe I hate Batman. Maybe
no, I think you do. I think you do, and I think that's okay. I think that's okay.
People think is a good Batman story. Maybe I don't like Batman. And I've been,
you know what?
I
think we're on the same page with
reading
that.
and studying Batman for 30 years, but maybe 35 years, but maybe I've just got it wrong, and I've been projecting my love of Sherlock Holmes and Charlie Chan.
Not necessarily. What I'm saying is that
Sam Spade and actual detectives and actual crime procedurals into this cape space, that maybe I'm the tourist.
You're not okay. Can I have something to ping off of that, and this is totally fine, but I think it connects with your character arc in other things we've looked at, which is I don't think that you never got them, but I do think that, and I've done this myself, that sometimes our relationship to certain genres and certain stories in those genres change over time. In some cases, I don't want to use the word outgrow because that's a very loaded term, but I'll give an example. I used to love the show House MD with Hugh Laurie, and I went back and it was about 10 years later, I rewatched some of it, and I still liked parts of it, but like my taste for the show, like it was like ash in my mouth to an extent. And it was like, oh wow, this spoke to me when I was 21. But now that I'm 35, I see this character, I see this whole type of storytelling. I just couldn't experience it. I couldn't relate to it the same way. And so
I've had the same experience in going back to this that I had in watching Endgame, where it's so bad, it has unmade good things that came before it.
All right. I don't read this the same way you do, but what I am saying is that one thing that I've seen in your character arc is, and I saw it. This is something I tried to tease out when we were talking about Wonder Woman with Tom King. You said a few things about life and relationships between men and women and families, and I was like, I could tell that some of what you were saying, half of your problem wasn't just Tom King's storytelling, which I do have huge problems with, but it was the fact that Wonder Woman as a character archetype was something that you did not relate to and were struggling with that's
how I feel about Superman. But
I'd even interject with that for a second here on this too, is that like I may have to go back, like take back my dislike of Tom King, because Tom
Oh,
King is
gosh.
clearly writing in the mold created by Jeff Loeb, and everything Tom King has ever done is trying to do Loeb. So it's clearly what's going on in this book. And
Well, but okay,
and,
hold on. Is Tom King trying to be Loeb, or is Tom King and Loeb trying to be TV?
No, I mean, well, those aren't mutually exclusive things at all.
This is definitely a cinematic turn. My broader point was that, Reese, I think that I've seen in not just this show and other shows that your growth as a person has changed the way you relate to some of these characters, and some of that, it's okay for you to be like, I don't like it's okay for you to say, I don't really like Batman as a character, I can't relate to him anymore, but you did at a time. Like, that is an acceptable character arc that many people have with some of these stories, and some people can stick with them till the day they die, and some people say, you know what, here we must part ways. And I parted ways with House quite a bit, and so, like, it's something I do, and many of us on this panel have probably done.
There
with
is
other
the
types of
alternative.
media. So
There's the alternative, especially with characters that have been around this long. In fact, I can't even really call them characters. They're more icons. They could have also outgrown him. Right? Because if we had to look at it now, half of Batman's existence is 1982. And he's taken a big turn in the later half of his existence than he was for the earlier half of his existence.
Well, and it's not, I wouldn't even say I can definitely argue the turn, but the Batman that we see month to month is like not a person, right?
Yeah.
It is a receptacle for the trauma dumping of art majors. It doesn't exist as a character, as an icon or anything. It's simply there so that people can play out edgy boy fantasies, and it's embarrassing. I mean, to everything. You see, here's part of the issue with this misunderstanding, this demand of comic book professionals. It's this whole mouse thing. It's the whole Scott McCloud thing. This demand to be taken seriously by the intelligentsia. This cloying desperateness that has been wormed its way into fiction, where everything has to be, instead of just being formula fiction, instead of just playing to the strengths of the genre, everything's got to play after the movies because they have credibility, or they have to play after the musicians because they have credibility, or they have to bring in Hollywood writers because they have credibility. And everything that goes into this, what you end up with is this emotional, this drain, this flushing of the entire genre into these I can't even put words around how, like, so everything that, like, what you have is Arrested Development, that everybody's like, oh, well, I'm a serious artist, I'm not Arrested Development. No, you've created an art form that boxes people into the same kind of mindset that people are demanding to be respected outside of. And so this is the self-fulfilling prophecy of the Big Bang Theory, that everybody is suddenly that, Hollywood version of a nerd, and they can't handle any serious, true seriousness.
I feel like we're reading very different stories. So without getting into, like,
well, I'm not talking about Hush with this. I'm saying that Hush is one piece of a larger puzzle where every single Batman story since then has been that same damn story.
Yeah, I don't understand that Hollywood is crap right now,
but it's all the same thing though.
Mm-hmm. Can I actually give you a big cut? A place where Batman really started to change was as soon as Morrison put him in the new JLA, when he rebooted the JLA with the Big Seven, and Batman has entire panels where all he says is HH, which I guess is just, that's, and he's the most dangerous man on the planet, and he doesn't need to explain what he does. He's just the best member of the JLA, and he's the Bat God, and it's suddenly the guy who, can't lift a person up over if there's somebody falling off a building and he's like not strong enough to lift a 200-pound man back up. It's like, well, you can't buy that because he's Bat God. He can do anything. And from then on, Batman is he's not only the Bat God, but he's antisocial. Whereas I've pointed out many times, around 1990, Batman still was like a very caring person with feelings and
Right.
normal presentation, even though that was well after the 1989 Tim Burton movie and everything. So,
And might I point out that all
Yeah.
of this is still concerning that generation.
uh-oh.
You keep dropping some of your inputs there.
Generational something. That's all I heard.
So anyway,
Uh-oh.
enough of my ranting on the thing, because I've specifically asked to hold that back with good reason, and I appreciate that. But I want to hear.
No, we want to hear what you have to say. I'm just saying,
right.
just like
Yeah,
let's just not
I
get
would probably
personal about
be-
it.
What I want to do is.
Well,
is
I would just want to say I would probably be with you, right? If I had reread this, because I was only mildly disappointed back when I read it when it was newer, and this is about the time that I was actually starting to read weekly comics. I had finally gotten to that age that I wasn't just getting book collections of backlogs from the library. So this is like one of the first Batman comics contemporary that I read in my life, and I was mildly disappointed because it was nothing like I knew Batman was. But I have stronger opinions on Batman than I did in like 2002. So if I did reread it, I would probably be exactly where you are right now.
I think it's
This
again.
comic-
I feel like I'm reading a very different book than you guys are.
This comic is the reason I stopped buying Batman comics.
That's what I'm trying to get at, Twitless, is the difference in the comic. See, so what I was saying, Reese, was that when you say that you have forgotten more about continuity than Loeb has ever known, I'm pretty sure you have forgotten more about continuity than I have ever known. And so the difference between us is I come into this in a very different vein, right? I come into it in the moment with almost no context as to how anything else is supposed to affect it. This is a story, basically. And I've said before, I gave up, caring about superhero continuity a long time ago because it's all so ridiculously complex.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not comparing this to anything that I have known in the past. I am kind of taking it as very generic. Okay, let's start reading a Batman story. And I think that has a big effect on how we see what's going on at the very moment.
Mm-hmm. So anyway,
I've read a fair bit. I'm less across, like, I definitely haven't. I think Hutch has read probably more Batman than all of us. I think because that's one of your.
That's probably very fair to say. Yeah.
But I've read a chunk, and I'm definitely more up on my Superman than my Batman at this point. But I've read a chunk, and one thing that I think helps me with this is to read it as, because Goethe, not to get too academic here, but Goethe says that he says the heart of criticism is to judge the thing for what it's trying to aim at. So it's like, what is it trying to be, and how well does it meet its own rubric? And so it's not just, and that's one way of criticizing. That's the way Goethe did it. That's one way I like to criticize. There's more than one way to criticize, right?
Right.
But if we were to use Goethe's, and I think it was Neil Adams who was using that. He was invoking Goethe when he read Contract with God, because Adams was like, I'm come from a superhero register and background. What is this picture story that doesn't do what I normally want it to do? But then when he basically took a step back and said, this is what Will Eisner was trying to do, he realized how amazing it was. So that's what gave him the key to unlock the thing that he wasn't necessarily used to. And one thing that definitely I noticed as we shifted from, and this is great that Hutch had us read some Bronze Age, essentially, because we're able to see there is a generational difference. This is the 2000s. This is when superhero comics started to become way more about, as you mentioned, TV. I'd say, like, I call it the cinematic or filmic register.
Very much.
Yeah. I think that as far as that goes, I think this is doing a good job at being what it wants to be. But I would even say that even more than being a film, I think that that's actually also a little bit of a potential misread, because this is a stage play, a tableau. Because films do not often have a character like Hush say, get the joke, which is a moment that is not made for any of the characters in universe. most of Hush's things that Hush actually does in the comic are moments of what I would call dramatic irony. They're not meant for Batman. They're not meant for anyone in universe. This is a story that's written very much with the audience being spoken to without doing what Byrne did, which was having the narrative voice. So it does more like a play does, which is present characters to you, have them do asides. Shakespeare and other plays do this all the time, where a character will be like, talk to the audience for a second, but not have it be like, I'm super breaking the fourth wall. They're definitely
Yeah, but those
part
are
of
like
the
the
story.
original breaks of the fourth wall, is where the term originally comes from.
No,
Since
exactly.
The
No,
fourth
right.
wall
But
is the invisible wall between
exactly. But it
the
wasn't.
audience and the
Those breaks were not meant to be breaks in the narrative, even though they are a break in a sense. They're not like
no,
supposed to
they're
be
part
Deadpool.
of the narrative. Right?
Exactly.
It's just like in the same way
Yeah.
that like the monologue was speaking directly to the
Exactly.
audience as well. Yeah.
So my point
Help me
is that
understand something. Phyllis, can I interrupt just for a second? I need to understand, when you say Hush is breaking the fourth wall, are you referring to the comic itself or the character
the
Hush?
character Hush,
Because
the
I
actual
can't
character
think of
is
him
actually most of
saying
what
much until like that last issue.
he's talking all the time, but he's talking to no one. And from a narrative point of view, it's like, what is going on here? Because like in universe, why is this character talking to essentially an audience? And then you realize that
When
when
is
Loeb
he
is
talking? Are there narration
he
boxes I'm not thinking
no,
of?
he just talks all the time. He's always quoting Aristotle to no one. He's standing on a rooftop. He'll say a quote from Aristotle. He's sitting on a rooftop again. He says a quote from Aristotle. No one can see him except the audience, and that's the point.
Oh my
Because
gosh! I'm getting him confused with Harvey.
yes, that's one of the big.
I'm thinking he wasn't showing up until that
No.
actual last issue.
No, that's Hush the entire time. The
Oh,
the
that's
Harvey
right.
the Harvey thing is a misdirect. It's the red herring that allows you to think who Hush
Right.
is without it being Hush. Even though the comic on a reread, I actually liked this. The comic tells you on page. Let me actually find it. It's within the first, I think, issue. The book actually tells you who the bad guy is.
Yes, it's painfully obvious. It was insulting then, and it's insulting now.
I disagree actually, because
Oh man, it was.
I disagree because again, it's not what the characters should know. It's what we are being told, and it's very obvious on a reread. But then when you get to the moment where the guy
Wait, Matt, don't interrupt. I want him to explain what the moment is. Let me for people out there.
All right, so let me find the moment where we get. Let me find the moment where it just tells us who the bad guy is.
While you're doing that, I want to also bring up
find
the
it.
fact that whatever it is, it won't be insulting to me because I'm going to apply the exact same logic pretty much that I did to Long Halloween. If you remember, I said I've learned in murder mysteries, always suspect the very first suspect they bring in and then want you to forget about.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
That's a very valid rule for a
Right.
very low budget TV
Yes,
whodunit that isn't an actual mystery.
and yet
That's
I
like
can still
that's like
apply it.
Maddox. That's
The
like
second he
friggin'
died, I was
like
already
issue-
there.
Cagney and Lacey level
Yeah,
of nonsense.
I know.
That's
But
well,
I'm
that's
just saying,
what do
the second he
It's
died,
it's
right?
It's issue 2. It's issue 2, and you have Elliot looking at the reader, and he's being a bit ominous, and he says, "But I think it's safe to say," and he's looking at the reader. It's another one of those like tableau moments. We make war, and then so that we may live in peace. And it's clearly the bad guy Hush who's tearing through the newspaper, and it's Elliot who's looking at us a panel before. But then when Elliot dies, it's like, oh wow, my assumption has been, thrown out the window a bit here. And then there's the red herring of, oh, it's probably Two-Face, it's Harvey who is being Hush. And then that's when they're able to do the little twisty turn again. And it's not the most, I'm not going to say it's like genius level mystery writing, but I usually go for, I'll pull up a Sherlock Holmes if I want the genius level mystery writing. My point is this is that Hush is a tableau. It is a play. It is written like a play, and a lot of the things that we see in it are things that you would see in a play, not even a film or a TV show. It is things happen for the benefit of the audience, and we're given to see things. And this, and I also want to give this is not a blank check. I want to give an avenue for the fact that I enjoy this. because I appreciate how the storytelling is being given to me, but because the story is being written um, not as much for the benefit of the characters in the world in which they reside, but for you're watching a play. It's things happen so that the audience can see them. People say things that the audience can see them, and those effects can play out, not because these characters exist in a living, breathing world. And one thing I want to point out is the fact that superhero readers have both audiences. There are people who read for that tableau effect, but there are also the long history since the golden age, since the day 2 of superheroes, that were reading for that other effect. So I would say overall, for people who are tuning in thinking about Hush or whatever, I would say if you read superhero comics and you're a big person who reads the characters to be that sort of like living, breathing world effect, I can see why you hate Hush, because that aspect is very violated here.
Yeah.
But if you read superhero
Well, this has
comics,
nothing to do with my dislike for it. Actually, I will probably agree on this. I actually think, especially visual mediums, but any type of story should be told for the audience. I think if the audience doesn't come first, you're having a trouble telling
No,
the
no, no,
story.
that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. The techniques used here.
No. I mean, even
are
like
very
talking about like play techniques and stuff. Like this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
what I'm saying. Like I have no problem with those techniques being in comics, especially because of the panel nature of comics. You should be talking directly to the audience in some way.
No, and some of that's what Byrne did with the narration. That's what the narrative voice
Yeah,
was. This one is using the play techniques in a slightly different way, in a way that violates very much the sense of characters being in a living, breathing world. And I just want to point out, I can see why people who read comics and lean more and more into that camp are going to like this book less and less to the point of hating it.
Yeah.
I obviously read them a little differently, and that's why I think I'm able to love it. And I'm just what I'm trying to do here. I'm not just saying I'm defending Hush as good. I'm already saying I like it. My point here is to try and set the table so that I can help describe why some of us may like it and why some of us may hate it, and not just make it be about like an argument about, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to set camps into
and I do appreciate what you're saying there, but that once again goes back to my point where this is not a comic. This is a stiffly illustrated using your terminology, is a stiffly illustrated libretto, or a stiffly illustrated, because I don't think that the art serves the story at all. In fact, that's one of the reasons I'm so baffled that the overly simplistic like content free pretend story that is laid out in this book, that you enjoy it. I don't understand. I mean, I'm not trying to shame you for it. I just don't get it. Especially,
I refuse. I'm shameless on this one. I've read this twice at this point. I love it. I can't.
Yeah,
I love it.
I have disliked it both times I've read it.
Can Twitness answer a question for me?
Yeah.
Since he's read it twice, we're told that. Remember, this is the one that builds and builds until all of a sudden Jason Todd is revealed to not be in his grave,
right,
and is standing there as a 20-something guy with a sort of modified military costume with the R sort of thing. And then it's revealed that that's not Jason Todd Robin. That is Clayface pretending to be him, actually pretending to be Nightwing, because they don't know. Whoever
and
told
they
him
retcon that
doesn't
later,
want him to know who Batman is, but gave him enough information that he could duplicate Nightwing and pretend to be this second Robin who he doesn't know. And that's which really very convoluted. But it's explained that the whole story is about how Batman is going after this kidnapped kid, and then as he's chasing Catwoman, all of a sudden his line gets hit by a batarang. Is it a batarang? Because for a moment he says it's Jason Todd who severed my cord because it was a batarang, but then it wasn't. So who severed the cord that made Batman fall, which started this whole story?
Didn't he say it was Hush in like the last?
It's Hush. It's Hush, and it's part of Hush's tableau, because this story is all about. And there's another out I want to give for this story, and this is something I actually appreciate that Loeb did.
Okay.
Is
I'll let you talk, but I want to get back to the scene again because I do have a reason for asking.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Loeb's pitch for what's going on in this story with Batman, and I think part of this touches with what Hutch was saying with what you're saying with like Lee and Loeb coming in and being like, you get 12 issues, like to make your bed, as it were, with Batman. And Batman is a character that people are automatically going to be like, you're doing it wrong. And they mention in the interview at the beginning of the 20th anniversary edition, which I really like. They mention how they were taking some risks with Batman and his relationship with Catwoman and the rest of that. But I love that.
They
I love
said
that
that?
stuff.
That's the safest, most boring milk toast aspect of this entire story, and they think they're taking risks.
At the time they were.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't.
They weren't. They literally.
He does reveal his secret identity to her.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was a risk at the time. They had to sell that to. I'm literally saying that they had to. Some of the decisions they made with, I think, specifically, I think with Jason Todd and with Catwoman, like you had to get approval from the editors. You had to you had to sell them on that. There were some risks. I'm just saying, like this is their words. They say. All right. Anyway, my point is this. For those people who were going to struggle with some of the direction the story took, there is a Loeb does this. I do like that Loeb does this. Is he gives us some ambiguity to play with, and he did this in The Long Halloween. He doesn't answer every question, which means that we don't have to he lets the audience have some authority over the story at the end of the day. And here, the whole story hinges on the fact that Batman has something going on with him psychologically because of Hush's subliminal thing with the computer. But on top of that, at the very, very climax, he says, Clark, something's going. Bad guys have been playing head games with me this whole time, and people have been doing some mind control stuff. Can you give me a quick X-ray scan? And Clark's like, there's something there. Do you want me to take? Batman just says, just get rid of it. So there's actually a thing in Batman's head, like a physical thing in his head for the entirety of the story. So if someone wanted to interpret this, I don't, but if you wanted to, Loeb gives you the door that says, I want to dismiss this story. And if you want to, you are given narrative permission to dismiss the story as this was just whatever robotic tumor that Hush or somebody put in Batman's head, Riddler, whoever. That is an avenue you're allowed to be given, or you can treat it as it was all played true to Batman's character, or you can play it somewhere in between. So
that's part of how it gets awkward for me.
I at least appreciate that if you're going to tell a story like this that might rankle some people's sensibilities about a character like Batman, that you give those avenues, and they're given to us. We can't deny that we're not given those avenues. So if you want to say, you're allowed the avenue of being like, this is Batman being psychologically manipulated through subliminal CIA messaging, which is canon, that's what happens in the story. B, he's being psychologically manipulated by like a childhood friend. C, he's being like, there's a thing in his head that Superman actually like lasers out at the very end. So some of the questions that come up, I don't know if this answers any of the ones that you're bringing up, Hutch. Some of them you can in fact take that route, and Loeb puts it there, and I think it's intentional because of what they were doing with the story. They wanted to have the out. And just in case, so we can say that's hack writing or whatnot, but it is there.
Well, can I? This is where the story kind of falls apart for me. And if you want to look at writing a plot, you need to sometimes say, this is the villain's plot, and write it out and speak it, and then you realize how stupid it is. It's because there was I like the show 24. But there was a season of 24 where I was like, okay, the terrorist plot is to melt down every nuclear reactor in America, but that's just a distraction while they also do an attack on a mall with a gas, but that's just a distraction to actually get a card reader that day so that they can get into the terrorist anti-terrorist headquarters thing and set off a bomb there and kill everybody there. That's just a reason for them to go and bring down Air Force One, which is only a part of a story. They brought down Air Force One with the president on it, but that's just a means of getting the nuclear launch codes, which they use at the end. It's like,
I think was that
if-
season 6, because that was when things going off the rails.
oh,
a bit.
it's 4 or 5. It's
Is- okay.
but yeah, it's like nobody would hatch that plot at any point. One of these things could have gone wrong, and the whole thing doesn't work.
Yeah,
You know?
some of the writing on 24 was them, and I think they admit to it. Some seasons were better plotted than others. Some of them they wrote themselves into a corner. It was almost like writing one arc of the show at a time, and then that's why when you put it together, it loses some of its coherency.
If you could bring down Air Force One, that is your story, and the fact that they did that as a means to get the codes that are on the plane, it's like you've killed the president, or they could have, you know, and bringing down all the nuclear reactors in the world, and it's like, or in America, and you know, it's like that's the plot. Here's the problem with why it applies to this is. Batman gets his cord severed as he's swinging after Catwoman. Apparently, she led him. I guess she was part of this plot against him. I don't know because she's enthralled. She's enthralled to Poison Ivy. So she leads him into the exact spot that they have set up where he can cut the wire that Batman will be on. And then Batman will fall and not die, but injure himself to the point that he needs this one doctor to work on him. And it's like, if he has any less than catastrophic injuries, the plot fails. If he falls on his head and dies, the plot fails.
Does it fail?
If he throws out another rope and catches himself and swings away, the plot fails.
I don't think it does. Because
I guess he still gets his
the ultimate plan is to kill Bruce. So you're right. It's using the comic book sort of like, you know, villain plot thing, which is not. This is not the only comic that does that. I would agree.
It's not the ultimate plan to kill Bruce, right?
Just to get his revenge one way or another.
The ultimate plan is to torture Bruce
and then kill him. Killing is part of that.
Killing is part of it, but the killing is incidental to the nature of the torture. The torture is the point. Torture is the point. And that's why everything in this book is dumb. But I don't want to. I want to go back to something that I was talking about before, because we got off subject of it. Your description and wonderful Cartoonicus defense of the tableau concept of storytelling. It still reflects back on my point about it, because it's a television play, right? It's a really bad 1950s cop drama, and it's got the same, you know, fourth wall breaks, those same kind of elements that exist within theater existed within teleplays. Less so in movies, but more so in television.
Well, early
grew out of vaudeville, right?
Early film is very play-like.
Well,
it's very early.
By the time you're looking at silent films, those are barely movies. Even though they are movies, they're still they're plays on.
There's some speakies that were still,
even in the talkies. Like you watch some early Hitchcock, there's some stuff where it's like, this is just a one-room, one-act play.
The original Dracula is a play. It's a filmed play that never leaves one room, basically.
Yep. Very common. Lots of early cinema. Sorry, don't mean to derail your point, but
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just it is very much like it falls under that thing, and it's not a comic. And I said this in our private chat. I do not think that Lee's art does anything to help this story in the slightest. Not feel like just absolute low budget schlock.
I love Lee's art.
I
can't pretend I don't.
It's lifeless. It's stiff. His designs are ridiculous. The whole redesign of Huntress is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Her motorcycle with the skull gouging pole that comes out of the back of it for some reason doesn't look like a motorcycle. Won't run like a motorcycle.
When it comes to setting aside Huntress, like his version of Batman, there are people. He's in a camp similar to Byrne, in the sense that, like it or not, he creates some definitive versions for the time for some characters. And for the 2000s, I'd say early 2000s, this was definitive. These were definitive versions of
Right.
several characters, and
Well,
that doesn't mean that, because like I said, this is where we get into the generational aspect. There are some people who go that the real Superman was Kurt Swan, and then sometimes people will go, no, actually the real Superman was Wayne Boring, and they're both valid to say that for the 2000s. And again, I cannot underline this point enough, that in order to be a 2000s reader, you're 10 years younger than some of the people on this panel,
right.
and that means that,
my
like,
point is that
for that era, it's
my point is that it's stiff and lifeless and fully divorced of action. I mean, it would have been more exciting to have photographs in this comic than Lee's art in most places. I just found it utterly uncompelling and distracting. As much as anything could be distracting from what little was actually going on in here. And that's one of the things
his
I
art
want to get
isn't
back
bad,
to.
but I've never understood why he's considered so great.
Yeah.
I mean, so great.
Well, I mean, and in his wheelhouse, sometimes, I mean, his things can be really good.
You had to be a kid of who read comics in. If you're an adolescent in the 90s or the 2000s, this guy spoke to you. There's a reason why people like people Lee, Liefeld, and people of his ilk, and they're very divisive. You could definitely you can draw a line between.
Liefeld's has years.
All my friends hated this comic too.
I'm pointing. I'm not saying. It's universal. I'm pointing out that there is you can draw a generational line between pre-image revolution kids and post, and you can see the discourse at the time. And there were people who are on both sides of the camp. People who were like, there was a handing off. There was a handing off of the reins. Chris Claremont talks about this when Jim Lee showed up to take over the X-Men, and it was like these were no longer.
You get in that group. Anyway. You get Michael Turner. You get J. Scott Campbell, you get Mark Silvestri, and you have Liefeld, and all of them have animation and life and action replete in their stuff. And Lee sometimes does. This, I don't feel, did.
Can I add one of the tidbits they say in the interview, because they ask them both Loeb and Lee are doing a retrospective on this story, and it's one of the questions raised to them. I really do encourage people who are interested in reading Hush, do read the 20th anniversary edition, because some of the interviews are really helpful because they're looking back like 20 years on this, and Lee and Loeb both say, as many creators do, they're like, all we can see is our flaws in this. So when people point out flaws, so did Lee and Loeb in terms of flaws. And so one thing that Lee specifically calls out for artwork is he said that he essentially learned how to draw Batman better as he did the series, and he says he actually wished he could go back and redraw, I think, the early appearances in like issues, the first half, because he says by the first half, he said the first half I drew him too boxy, and then he says the second half is where I started to hit my stride with it. So there's actually, again, this is not something I've done, but apparently Lee's eye can pick up on how he actually evolves the character throughout the series, which I thought was very interesting. So what I'm saying is the fact that the drawing itself is something that the creators do point out as something that they've looked at and had to. So there's some layers to that. And,
and one thing I want to go back and say, give a little bit of fairness. My first reading, even though I did not care for this book, like I said, this was the comic that made me stop buying Batman comics.
How long ago was that?
I felt like it was a writing on the wall for what DC wanted Batman to be, and I just walked away.
This ended in 2003, so if he read to the end, it would have been 2003 is when he stopped reading Batman comics.
Right. And I mean, I picked up a couple issues here and there, but I wasn't a monthly reader anymore. And part of it was too. I was not so bothered by the art in 2003 as I was years later. And one of the things that it came to is I also have very much cooled on Alex Ross's stuff, right? Where Alex Ross draws, I mean, he's a wonderful painter, and he's got a sense of visual style. But his comics don't evoke the kind of fun movement that they're stills, they're photographs, right? And
He's really
I
good at bringing out the iconoclasm of the character in his art. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're beautiful, wonderful covers. I mean, that's Ross, Lee, both they excel at their cover design, and that's one thing you look at, like, because it's a cover, right? I mean, let me put myself on the screen here. We'll just go ahead and show a couple of these covers because I've got the whole floppy sitting here. I mean, look at this. This is a great cover, right? The design on this one. This is a great cover, right? I'm not taking anything from that, right? Even this one here, this was a really stupid comic, great cover, right?
Reese, do you own all of these issues individually of this comic you hate?
Yes, yeah. I had a subscription.
What is wrong with you?
That was probably back when they
Because it
mailed
was
them too.
new.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was getting into. I was like, oh, I was a kid in the '90s. I'd seen Lee's stuff.
You've got them in
kind of fun.
plastic.
I really liked Long Halloween the first time I read it. I mean, I loved it when I first read it, and so I was like, I am definitely keeping my subscription. We'll see. But I was halfway through. I was sick of it, but I wasn't going to stop. And I'll tell you right. I can tell you the point at which I got sick of it was this one right here. This book. This was like, it was horrible.
I hate the way he draws Joker. Ugh.
It's not only that, it's there are 3 plot elements in that issue that are repeated like 4 or 5 times about the Joker this time, and here's how I felt about the Joker this time, and ABC. And it just was like, oh my gosh,
Was this Harley's? I know Harley had not made many appearances. What was her first appearance? This has to be one of her first.
It was shortly before this. Her first appearance was
It was during No Man's Land.
Well, I think it was Mad Love before No Man's Land.
Mad Love wasn't in continuity, I don't think.
Wasn't it? I thought it was. Maybe not.
It probably was. I'm sorry.
This is a very early Harley Quinn appearance, and
yeah.
Considering.
And so this comes back.
It was a welcome change of pace considering what they've done with her in modern. Like I was like, wow, she looks like Harley Quinn. She acts like the gang mall clown thing. It was like, wow, I felt so cozy. They just turned into the weird tramp stamp short wearing thing. I wish they'd get away from that. It's such a completely watered down aspect of the aesthetic. It was part of the one thing I wanted to bring up was the fact that one of the reasons why I find this cozy, and this is something that we might talk about, probably we'll talk about when we talk about Avengers versus X-Men, was that early 2000s, there's another line you can draw, which is around 2012, 2013, which is like that last period of the Obama years when they just completely change both Marvel and DC, like just almost instantaneously, and they just start doing everything differently. And so it's so strange to go back and be able to read an early 2000s comic and go, oh, they were still doing X back then. They were still drawing, female characters in a particular way and having them act a certain way, and they could be in love and desire men. Like it was a thing. We did it for years. We did it for decades, and it was like after 2014.
We did it for millennia.
Yeah, after 2014, specifically 2014, there's like a memo that goes out to both Marvel and DC, and they say, no, you're not doing that anymore. And so, like I said, it's so bizarre that something that I can remember in my own lifetime is like, in the 2000s, I can go back, oh, the good old days of 2002, when Catwoman could, like, desire Bruce Wayne in a feminine way. Holy crap! I feel nostalgic for 2002. What is going on with my life? It's bizarre just from a history position to feel like. Because this happens to all of us. I know, like I said, you guys, you're older than me. You guys have had this happen more often. But it's so bizarre to look back at 2002 with such a lens, even in just a small thing like that. And to see Jim Lee draw, I love how he draws the ladies in this series. I agree with you. I think his Joker is probably the weakest character he draws this whole series. That's an interesting point. I completely concede that.
Well, I think
when Huntress is swinging her leg over her motorcycle and it's just her butt. That's the panel. It's a little gratuitous here
Well,
and there.
and except
but,
that, okay,
yeah.
and here's the thing is, I got to get to that thing because it's
I mean,
not
her cape could have been there, but
well,
it's
not just
curiously
that.
pushed
Like, there's no
aside.
way her leg will fit over that. Like, that's part of the thing with the design I'm telling you guys about. Like, how horrible that whole
I
look
think the
is.
gratuity was probably the thing I liked the most about this book, but I was also in the 5th grade when it came out, so
Well, I still think it's neat. But
Oh, it's an issue too.
Well,
Yeah.
you're
The,
opening that, Reese.
But anyway, one of the things that I want to talk about too is it's not just its place in history and its overall thing. One of the other issues that I have with it is that every plot point, virtually every plot point, is a continuity error. Right? It's like the entire story. Batman's like, oh, my villains are doing things they've never done before, while they're doing exactly the kind of things they've done before.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Killer Croc would never hold anybody hostage when he always holds people hostage. Oh,
that wasn't no. Well, hold on. That's being a little ungenerous. He said
No,
Killer Croc
it's
as
really
of this point in continuity. Because I
as
understand
of this point in continuity, yes.
as
I mean,
of this
and
point in continuity.
like you're looking at
okay.
post Arkham Asylum, right? And you're looking at the way in which
That's not
the
Loeb and
animated
Lee's.
series.
That's not Loeb and Lee's fault.
No,
that
it's
is
not.
that is that
No,
is
it's not.
that's
But,
my
hang on.
point. Okay.
And it is true that like but you look at like the Showcase 90, 94, 95 ones, they had Killer Croc being a mastermind.
Right?
Again,
Yeah,
right?
I know. We
So
read that.
it was-
what I'm saying is that
was-
changed.
Right, but it was, I mean, just before this book came out, it was back and forth. And some writers would play him really smart, and some writers would play him really
Well,
dumb. And it would
Loeb-
depend on what they wanted to do with it.
To
And
be
there's no
fair,
consistency.
animalistic.
and
Loeb gives a
editorial-
out for that. Loeb gives
and-
an out for that because he says,
Right.
remember, Loeb says that that
He's
this
mutating.
version he's mutating, and so there's again. I like that Loeb does this. He puts these little seeds, and he allows
Right.
you to go, okay,
But-
if
that's
I'm
not-
going to interpret
that's not
Croc as out of
Batman's-
character, there's a reason for that. He's acting a bit abnormal, and there's a story reason for that. I'm at
But
least
that's
saying
not-
that there's some craftsmanship in the sense that there's some of this being
But-
put in
but
there
there
to
isn't-
anticipate
There
those
isn't
things.
craftsmanship because that's part of Batman's internal monologue. Wasn't Croc wouldn't do this anymore. He was like, he would never do this. Somebody's teaching him new things, right? Like, why would Poison Ivy would never take mind control of somebody else. Poison Ivy would never steal 10 million. Why would these villains want $10 million?
No, that's not. Hold on.
That's a motive.
No, hold on. Let's be fair. Okay, if we're gonna criticize this book, let's at least criticize it on the right point. Batman's point about them moving differently wasn't the individual schemes themselves. It was the level of coordination that he is detecting within them, that he's like, this is outside of what I typically expect of them. Not the plots themselves. It was the level of coordination in how they were being connected to each other.
That is what
that's what Batman is saying, and that's
not
what
Batman is saying. Somebody is teaching them new things. These are outside of their normal things. They're not outside. It's like I was trying to explain.
Okay.
I was reading this at home yesterday, right? And I was really just taking break between issues and just pacing around the house. And my son says to me, "What's going on?" He says, "I can't stand this book." And he says, "What's wrong with it? Try to explain it." And I said, I tried to tell him the story. And he said, "So you're telling me that the villains are acting uncharacteristically characteristically?"
But that's again, like I said, that's not what Loeb's. No.
Yeah, they are though. That is. Okay.
No, that's not. Sorry, I do have to disagree on that particular point.
And Cartoonicus, since you guys have read this week,
okay.
Which one of Twitless? Because we cannot both be correct. So which one of us is correct?
I'm going to paste something, and that will be my answer here. You, Hutch, you go ahead, and I'll catch up.
What am I choosing between? I'm
Okay,
sorry.
So I believe that Batman's internal monologue tells us that his major concern is that his villains are acting uncharacteristic
Right.
but they're doing all of the things they have always done. So that's not uncharacteristic.
I am with Reese on this because they're looking back on this 20 years later as like a major story, and I'm like, what? It's Poison Ivy is seducing people and mind controlling them with her stuff. That's normal. I don't know why Batman is like, there's this ongoing case, the Hush case, that I have to deal with. It's like, this is all normal, pretty normal stuff for him, except for the broken back. Well, even that's kind of a normal thing for him now. But I did like that they referenced Sandra Kinsolving and actually said that she's better, which is nice. But
I cannot stress this enough. It's not the individual plots themselves. It is how they're being linked and coordinated to each other that he's detecting a hand. He's detecting a puppy. He's detecting a puppet master pulling the strings, and he's like, I got to get that guy. That's what we're supposed to be getting from this. Now, I will say,
I don't see why he's picking up on that. It just doesn't.
I was about to say what.
There's no warrant for that.
Concession I'll give is that I think that Loeb could do a strong. I did notice this on my second read through. This didn't bother me as much as it bothered you guys, but I did think that Loeb could have done a stronger job of explaining how Batman was detecting these strings. Batman tells us he's detecting them. Mm-hmm. He's sensing it. And if you think about it, at the very end of the story, one of the things that Batman is sensing that also gives us another way out here is the fact that it's a subliminal message he's been given the whole time, which is one of the reasons he's detecting this hand is because Elliot bloody showed it to him. Right. And because he wants him at the end to be like, I am the architect of your torture and defeat. So that kind of tracks. There is an avenue to read this that, like I said, kind of works. I think he could do it. He could have done a little stronger, because I do remember reading some of those text boxes being like, I can spell that a little better. But at the end, we're given that avenue of, like I said, Elliot has put that programmed thing. Now, I will say one of the things I mentioned, one of the errors that Lee brought up. One of the things that Loeb brought up that he said he wished he had the time to do better. He said, I wished I had more time to introduce Harold's role in the story, because he says he flat out, again, I could read this quote where he says that basically Harold gets dropped in the final act, and we didn't have the time to flesh out his role in the story beforehand because of the 12-issue run, and he says that's a weakness I wish I could go back and redress. So I think that alone would probably start fixing some of the concerns that are even being raised just from that last point.
Can I say that you both are kind of on? I think you both have a point. Here's what I think when I'm looking at this story. If Loeb had just been brought on board to be part of the Batman team, and this was their year-long plot of the Batman books, that they could have brought back Batman's old doctor friend in some story and then left him behind, but then every now and then he's referenced again, and then all of a sudden that pays off like a year later or a year and a half later. That would be good. But this, here's this book called Hush. It's self-contained, and here's this doctor character that we've never seen before for no reason. And all of a sudden, and again, a big problem with that with Harold is that Batman tried to help him in every way possible and couldn't. And yet somehow, as soon as Harold's out, he can talk and he looks nice and his back is fixed. And it's like, this is all stuff that Batman couldn't do for him. And Batman could have turned to this doctor friend of his, one of the best doctors in the world, said, hey, can you help this guy? Again, he would have done that with Two-Face too if this had been somebody he knew all his life. And so I think it would work better as year-long plotting in the book than this self-contained story that's just kind of contrived, way too contrived.
As far as contrivances go, I think that the friend that I think I was okay with this because it was a childhood friend that, because after the way they put this is that Elliot was a friend of Bruce's back when they were kids, and Elliot's family get into a car wreck, and Thomas Wayne tries to save them both, can only save the mother, And then after that, Thomas Wayne dies, and it's after that point where Bruce kind of retreats and stops being friends with Elliot. And so he's kind of a forgotten friend, and that's part of the plot at a certain point, because the reason why Bruce even remembers Elliot at all is because, again, that subliminal messaging, and it's like that was why he thought of Elliot to actually consider him for the surgery at all. So that implies to me, even though he's a world-class surgeon, he's sold as that, there's still something about him that isn't on the radar enough, because he sees the need to put himself to actually, I'm gonna have to put this in his head because he's not gonna remember me, and I'm not enough of a profile. And that's, I'm sure there's something I know we could pick that apart to death if you want to.
So, okay,
My
before
point though
we get
again
on
is
to the
that
next
there
part.
is an avenue to read this. And I completely agree with you, Hutchie. If someone says this is too contrived for me, I don't think I can argue with that.
Yeah.
I think there's most of the things that I see as problems are things that there is an avenue to read it that way, and I don't think I can't say like that's an invalid way to read it, but there's another way to read it that we're presented with. Loeb often seems to give us this choice, and if you choose the other way, it changes your reading. So there's something to that Loeb is bringing to the story, because it happens over and over again, where I'm like, there are certain writers who do not give you any choice but to read it like except only one way, and that way sucks. So the fact that I get to have this choice speaks to some I don't like by the way, I'm not just saying I love Loeb. He murdered the Ultimate Universe, and I don't just say like that in terms of body count. He murdered like the narrative, like, so he's I have a very interesting relationship with the writer, because I hate him for what he did to the Ultimate Marvel Universe. He just flat out killed it all. And I think that
killing.
Oh gosh, but not the way he did it. The way he did it.
I'm unaware of that.
The way he did it was so off ambitious. I think that was after his kid died.
I realized it was trash. So
I never liked it.
He had his son like die of like leukemia or something. So it's at I don't know when that happens, but at a certain point you get a different Loeb, and I'm just that changes him, as it would change any of us. But I think this predates that. I don't know if I'm speaking out my butt on that. My point is that there is something about Loeb's writing at this era, at this time, that I can't say like, oh, you're just trash terrible. I just can't see that, because I'm seeing these things that allow me to read the story in a way that I'm enjoying, and I'm not just saying me like the pretty pictures, although I also say that about Jin Lee. So
so anyway, before we get on to the next topic, I do want scene.
That was perfect timing.
That was amazing. I do want to go ahead and show the scene of the motorcycle that will one day kill a person who is riding it here.
Okay.
Okay.
Make myself a thing here. So this motorcycle, you see it stop shaking, right? This pipe thing is one supposed to be on either side when you see her riding it, which means you can't swing your leg over to get in, but one accident, and that's right through the back of your skull. This little fin thingy backwards.
You keep petting that butt.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do with a butt.
Above here.
Oh, gosh.
The murder cycle. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the butt cycle. Jim I didn't put the butt there. Okay. Anyway.
So,
Fine, you can have that one. I'm not even gonna.
Well, in the front of the motorcycle doesn't look any better either.
Yeah.
Then there's
Huntress has always been an interesting character from a design standpoint. She's always been more about like. I know there's stuff behind her. I know there is. I read one of her like 5-issue runs, but like Huntress is rule of cool. Like that's like what her like. I've never read her as practical.
I think she only really works as Batman's daughter from Earth 2, and all the ways they've tried to make her. It's like they had to give her a completely different story.
Most iterations of her. Like, I just kind of find her annoying, but that one was good.
Yeah. So I don't even
Jim
remember.
agrees with you there, Hutch.
Yeah, there we go.
Because she makes sense there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't really know why Catwoman. See, the problem is every time there's a plot element that doesn't work, all you have to do is say mind control.
Right.
And yeah,
Well, and then there's the whole Batman goes absolutely ape shit because, a girl kissed him and it was Catwoman. And like that's already happened in continuity before this event because Long Halloween was accepted into continuity before this. And they're palling around all the place. And, internal clues are that Catwoman already figured out who he was. So that's not even surprising. So then you have the whole thing where it's like all the heroes all the villains are doing exactly the same kind of thing they are before. Harley Quinn, brand new character. Harley Quinn could never pull off a mild robbery at a very small venue full of rich people. What?
That's a very normal thing in Gotham
Very
City.
normal thing in Gotham City.
Yeah.
Everything in this thing was
that's where Loeb could
and dull.
That's where Loeb could have done a better job at communicating the puppet master effect.
Well,
it's happening, but it's not being, I think, communicated as effectively as it could have. I do see that is, that's fair.
That then leads into this whole scene with the Joker, who is accused of murdering this guy who's Batman's friend, who was there for no reason that we can figure out, and it's a very complex, convoluted thing. But what I don't get is that this is all that the Joker gets to do in this Batman story is be there and not actually be the guy who murdered him, and have a big confrontation where Batman considers killing him and has to talk to Jim Gordon about it, not doing it. It's like this is coming out of.
Well, and so you take Batman, so like that entire scene, well, actually, almost this entire book is Batman out of the last 3 pages of The Killing Joke, just copy and pasted onto this book in every friggin' page. And the other thing that I have such a problem with is every plot point that isn't, and this might just be I might be out of line with this one, but it feels like every plot point that isn't a continuity error in this story is some sort of cheap member berry for people that watched Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
What's a member berry?
Which is funny because as somebody who's one of his earliest impressions of Batman as the animated series, I didn't really care for it. I love Batman the Animated Series. I didn't care for this particularly.
The only thing missing for me is I was like,
there.
I'm like, where's Mr. Freeze? But I like that this is my favorite version of the Long Halloween. The Long Halloween, when he did a similar thing, actually feels really contrived with how every issue happens to feature a random villain doing something that just happens to just be a part of the holiday stuff. And it doesn't really feel like they have anything to do with the story. We actually brought this up, I think, when we talked about the Long Halloween, that it's like, why the hell is Joker doing this thing in Christmas? Who cares? Who knows? He's there. And at least here, we're given the again, I know it can be done a little better, but the whole point is the fact that all of the villains are being coordinated not just by Hush. They're being coordinated by the Riddler, which lets the Riddler be less of a jobber, and apparently at the time, and lets him be more of a mastermind.
Oh, I
cool.
disagree with that entirely. There's every one of these things is just as, if not more, random. There's none of. Okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, none of them lead to each other. They're just random crap that's thrown against the wall. It's not like it's part of some master plan where you're moving the pieces in place. And that's the other thing that's so insulting is like they're projecting this whole time about war games between Tommy and Bruce is like, Tommy's like, you have to think like your enemy. And Bruce doesn't. And here's the thing is, I got into issue 6, and Batman hadn't even postulated about who could be doing this yet. There's been no conversations, no putting clues out. It's just somebody's pulling the strings. I wonder who it is. Hey, random thing happens. Next issue, somebody's pulling the strings. I wonder who it is. Random thing happens. It's just like there's.
It's a gauntlet. It's literally the gauntlet. He's being put through a gauntlet on purpose to be kept off foot. It's literally the setup to Bane, except instead of Bane at the end, you get Hush. Except
Bane was unique and intelligent and an actual threat. Tommy goes out in 2.5 pages when they actually confront each other. It's ridiculous.
It's more psychological. It's
Well, I disagree.
I like villains who are more psychological, and
It's
that's
far
this
less
guy's
hold
meant
on.
to
Hey,
be messing with
can I
your head.
interject for a second here?
I think well, one second, cartoon. I think it's far less psychological. I think that Loa tells you every issue it's psychological, and so you're primed to believe it's psychological.
So seeing
My
your
thing is
friend
that-
die in front of you isn't a psychological, like, come on,
No,
like
that
you're
one
being
thing probably is, yes.
like at a certain point, we're being like I said, I know you don't like the story, but let's try to stick to the.
Well, I am. I don't. I think it's just random stuff. It's like when you have in Nightfall, right? You're running the gauntlet, and all the villains are doing characteristically villain things, and they've been just let loose in Gotham City, and so you can buy Batman being drugged through the muck there because there's just so much to go through. In this one, it takes place over months. They're tiny little pieces. There's no connection between them. It's not like he's assembling like a death ray at the end of the movie or something.
The death ray is Jason Todd. That's literally what it was supposed to be. The death ray is Jason Todd. I know you're not gonna like that. I'm just saying that is the point.
Okay.
That is what he says. That's what they all say. I'm just telling you what the book says. The book says the. Are you playing us as a?
You were stressing me out so much. I decided to play some Mario Kart to cool off.
Oh yeah, I don't blame you. I started doing my gotcha dailies during this as well.
So okay.
This is,
We're
all right. Let's
clearly
take a
not
step
going to
back.
come to any kind of middle ground off here, and it's getting late. So let's find a way to wrap this up, because I don't know, man. I don't know. Thank you guys for putting up with my really bad attitude. I do appreciate it.
No, to bring it back, let's to kind of like take a step back. I can see and I appreciate being told more because it's learning. Like I learn more about my own position even by seeing how other people see things. And I will say that Hush, whether you like it or hate it, I read something. I did not look at the exact stats, but I think Hush outsells Watchmen. So it is a moneymaker for the company. Yeah,
so embarrassing.
That's ridiculous.
There's a reason why this book. There's a reason why this book plays the way it does.
I may have to stop making comics. That's embarrassing.
It's a moneymaker.
Before we started talking about this backstage, I didn't even know people liked this book.
Yeah, I really consider it kind of a washout. It's like Hush is not a villain of any kind. What is his description? In what way is he interesting? I mean,
he's just angry, sad, edgy boy.
Can I defend that?
Stereotype.
For a minute, I actually thought about that, and I'm still on the fence because there are certain characters in DC that, especially. That are not as good outside of the story in which they feature. I'll give the example that I often think about is Doomsday. Doomsday is a metaphor for death, and he's great in Death of Superman. But once he did the thing, which is kill Superman, it's like, what do you do with this guy now? So the answer to that is actually you can actually do something. Justice League Unlimited, the show, actually found an angle, but most of the time it's just like, what is this guy? He was a stand-in for death. For a minute, I thought that Hush was similar to that. And that may in fact be the case, where it's like outside of the story in which he's in, which is Hush, there's a secret, what is there to this guy? The more I think about it, the more I think that there is an interesting angle behind him. I don't know if it's being fully capitalized on. You guys, there's clearly people on the panel who don't think this at all. But I will say that when I started just ticking off in my head what Hush was, I was like, okay, I can see what we're going for. So Loeb and Lee were tasked with coming up with a new rogue to add to the rogues gallery. And that can be difficult because there's a lot of characters who it's hard to make a standout villain in Batman's rogues gallery. It's not easy to add someone new. It's easier to work with older characters. But I've seen KG Beast, where it's like dry run of Bane #1, Dr. Harbinger, dry run of Bane #2, and it's just like it's difficult. So Hush was this attempt to, in a way, go in the opposite direction from what many Batman Rogues Gallery characters are. Whereas many Batman Rogue characters are flashy and ostentatious, Hush was meant to be subdued, quiet, and more behind the scenes. And so to that end, they do and I think the best part of his overall aesthetic is the bandages on his face. That's actually a pretty cool, that is a good gimmick, having a character with bandages on their face. It is. I think it's a good visual.
Yeah, it was good when Frank Miller came up with it for The Dark Knight Returns for Two-Face.
Or it was really great when they used it for Chameleon back in the 60s.
That was a helmet.
No.
That was not bandages.
Can I?
But what I'm saying is that overall, you have a villain who's meant to be primarily psychological, manipulative, and quiet, as opposed to ostentatious. And that's I think that's a pitch that's different for a villain for Batman, because it's like, well, if you try to do someone loud and ostentatious, I feel like you're going to trip into 100 rakes. I feel like if any of us tried to come up with a new rogue for Batman, I think it would be a struggle. So I think it is a challenge. So whether we probably again debate endlessly about how effective it is, but you can see what the attempt is, which is to make a villain that's very, very different from what these guys are deliberately, and it's meant to be going in a quiet direction as opposed to a loud one. And like, I see what they're going for, and I'm like, I like that direction. I'm not sure about the execution. That's kind of currently where I'm at on that.
That's amazing.
I'm trying to figure out why, but I don't mind being the guy sitting at the bottom. Like, it's
I
the
could've
better
put
place to
myself-
be.
But I didn't want to, assume.
That's fine. So, in answer, is Hush any good? Well, I guess that means on what you depends on what you mean by good.
I don't know how you'd reuse him as a villain. What would he do? I mean, what is aside from being, and
if
he's
I
not
may-
even the mastermind. The Riddler is.
In Hush 2, what they're doing with him, which is also I kind of like, they leaned into his surgical aspect, and he's essentially making his own villains now. So they say in Hush 1, he was working with Riddler to manipulate current
Dr.
villains.
Hugo Strange now.
So he's kind of making his own,
Or the Crime Doctor.
So if we go with villains who can't have overlapping gimmicks of any level, like we're gonna have a very long conversation.
Well, I'm just saying it's like, okay, we're gonna
Okay,
we need a
like
brand new
Amygdala
villain,
and
so let's do
Bane, like,
exactly
there's-
the same thing we did before.
It's again, come up with a brand new Batman villain that doesn't tread any old ground.
No,
like that's not going to be.
Here's what I'm
easy.
saying with that though, Footless, is like, if you're making something new that is just something old, you're not making something new. So just use the thing that's old that already works really well, because
One thing I like about Hush as a villain is that I know that when he shows up, unless it's someone who's completely not using him correctly, it's going to be, I feel a sense of foreboding in the sense that this is a plot you can't resolve in a single issue, because Hush's plans, whether we like them or not, tend to take multiple issues to unravel. So if Hush shows up and he's being used properly, you're in for a longer ride. And it's okay to have villains who are like, I'm a one and done kind of a guy. I show up in an issue, you solve my problem in an issue. There are certain villains who is like, you're settling in for 4 issues now, friend, and it's like, that's that guy. And that's okay
Batman
to
doesn't do any investigating until issue 5, page 10. So
I'm talking about the villain. I'm talking about the villain, not the
right. What I'm saying is, like, if Batman or any of this master detectives he surrounds himself with has started looking for clues at issue 2, maybe the issue would have been solved by issue 3.
Isn't the point though?
Robin never even shows up until like halfway through this story.
And then they have this whole exchange between Robin and Catwoman, like they haven't met each other like a dozen times.
Right.
Like they're like, you don't know me. Oh, you don't know me. It's like, oh geez, it's so tiresome. Like they interacted in
That's not Loeb Lee's fault though. That's just how a story like this one's going to be told. Like that,
or-
some of those
or
things
the
are Loeb
editors
Lee,
who
and some of
actually,
those
like,
are just
didn't pay
like
attention to continuity anymore, because after Denny left, the entire place went to hell. Which this is like the first big event after Denny left, so not surprising.
All right, let's
That's all I'm saying.
I
said this in the chat earlier. I require a Batman story to have no less than 20% detective work done by Batman. If not, I'm already out.
It might as well be oh man, what's his name? Oh, I can't remember his name. Never mind.
John
Power
McClane.
Man. Might as well be Power Man if he's not going to do any detective work. If Batman's answer is
Luke
to just
Cage.
punch things
You're
and
talking
swing.
about Luke Cage.
Luke Cage, Power Man,
okay.
yes. His answer is just to swing around and punch things. Then I don't. And I guess that's it.
Okay, here's something that bugged me. The whole sidetrack with Ra's al Ghul and Talia, which is, I mean, it's a lot of wasted time.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think Batman had to kidnap Talia to get the attention of Ra's al Ghul or to find.
Just shown up like he's done them dozens of times before.
Yeah, he's the world's greatest Batman. He should track. He's world's greatest detective. Should track him down.
So the story can happen. Didn't we just say this
yes,
when Byrne did it?
Okay. You gotta stop interrupting for a second, because this isn't even the problem. So he has a big fight with Ra's. Ra's says, "Okay, we both have the same enemy, so I will help you." And then Batman goes back, and that's right. After he kidnaps Talia, Ra's has a sword jammed into the computer, but then later he realizes it isn't random. Ra's was trying to point out something to him by the placement of the sword into the computer, and then he looks into it and he finds that this is where Harold put in something. I don't know how Ra's al Ghul, whichever.
Yeah.
I don't know how he knows at all about this and is trying to point it out and does so before even confronting Batman about why this all came up, that he took Talia and that whole ridiculous thing with Catwoman fighting what's her name? Lady Shiva.
Just shows up for no reason. As if Lady Shiva hasn't already as if Lady Shiva hasn't already in canon expressed her utter distaste for the League of Assassins and and Ra's al Ghul specifically. But the one thing I do want to say about that, really good thing, the kidnapping of Talia, I think it's a plot point, is dumb, but that was a really fun sequence.
Yeah, I suppose
that heist aspect of that was fun. I really did enjoy that.
Yeah, where he busts open the plane and fights guys for the few moments that the place is decompressing. And
yeah.
By the way, these guys are just like they just work for LexCorp as guards. They're not evil. he's blasting open the side of the plane to get in, and who knows how many other people are on that plane. I mean, that's what Oracle, why she's objecting to his doing it. And I'm like, she's got a point. Why are you having to do this to get Talia? You can get her while she's on the ground somewhere.
It's cool. It's cooler to do it. It would be much cooler to do. It's because it's for the audience. The audience can see. So the audience can see a cool scene on a plane, which is fine with me. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I'm like I said before, I'm fine with rule of cool in that case. Most of the storytelling should be for the audience, whether it's giving them cool things or feeding information directly to them.
See, I think there should be a reason why Batman has to do this aside from rule of cool. Why is it urgent that he do it right then and in such a complicated way? And why is he even trying to take her hostage, which is Batman doesn't take hostages usually, in order to get the attention of Ra's so that he can ask him a question about it. This bugs the heck out of me. The more we talk about this, the more I realize how bad a story this is. I mean, I had my quibbles. I really hate what was done with Harold. It makes no sense. Like I say, that Batman would have found him a doctor if a doctor could have fixed him. That's just the way it is. That he can be so totally fixed.
Cool character.
And I don't.
And it was.
I like Harold. I did, as far as I know, he was still down in the Batcave somewhere.
Well, there was during a cataclysm, he and the Bat Dog
That's right. Yeah.
They walk into the caverns and they then that's it. They're gone.
Yeah.
But it's just like, well, they're off to have like, a life, right? They've got this bond, and it's sort of sad to have that. But like there was a time that went through after Cataclysm and after No Man's Land where they're like, well, let's pare down Batman's
Bat Family, yeah.
Bat Family a little bit. Except they're bringing in Batgirl.
I'd like to read that story. I'd like to read that story with Harold, actually.
Yeah. What is Harold doing on the road? Like, that'd be a great story. I'd love that.
Well,
But,
I hate to say it, but like this is one of those moments where like Chris Claremont's like, oh man, I'd love to tell a story about this family type aspect, and most of the mainstream people are like, dude. Chris mentioned this. He said, Chris and Jim, when they did the handoff for X-Men, and it was like, I don't want to. The new generation did not want to see this long-running soap opera that had grown to the point where people were just hanging out at the mall and doing groceries and things. They wanted to see action and cool stuff, and that was a shift, and that was how the game is played. And,
I'm just saying.
I'm not even saying you're wrong. I'm just pointing out that
I don't see any reason you can't have an amazingly action-filled story with Mute Mechanic and dog.
You can. I'm just saying that I also understand from a storytelling perspective why what happens.
Yeah. You wouldn't necessarily want a 12-issue maxi series. A series of 8-pagers every 6 months or something would be fine.
I'm not even disagreeing. I'm just saying that I can see it both ways, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, guys, this has been an absolute riot. Has everybody said everything they can hope to possibly want to say about this?
Not even close.
Do we want to go one issue by issue for the next 12 shows?
God, no, please.
I don't even want that, and I love Hush.
Better conversation.
I would have given up by issue 3. I can only fight for so long.
We can go panel by panel on how bad
it would be. It would be panel by panel.
Look,
like I
we
said,
all
I
know
don't
we're
believe
going to
I'm
spend
exaggerating
another
at all.
hour talking about this after we end the stream.
Maybe. Who knows? Probably not. Okay, guys. So this has been a riot, but here's the announcement part. This is the last Mattriarchy. We're rebranding next time, guys. I've decided that
you
this
finally got a new name.
Out fire. This absolute dumpster fire.
This comic finally broke you. You have to reboot.
Was going to be the last.
I totally forgot something.
What?
I totally forgot something. Vamp for 30 seconds, okay?
Okay,
Vamp
really quick.
Keep it going for 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So the new show title, I don't know exactly. I think we're going with Monitor Duty. I think that's the only ones that got any votes, and I kind of like it. And so we'll have that the next show. Maybe even if I have the time, get new graphics and stuff. We'll see how that all shakes out.
Yeah, Monitor Duty is good because it plays on multiple levels, right?
Yep.
Like the monitors, but also we're on your monitor. Like it works pretty well. Yeah.
Yep. So, and we're here to watch the whole panoply play out.
All right, what do you got for us?
I have to show you what came in the mail this week.
Oh, nice.
Do you? I'm going to read my first Marvel comic ever.
Cool.
Oh, you got it.
Starting with the first Fantastic Four, and going up to the I saw the movie and I realized it's about time how can I speak about the Fantastic Four movies and whether they're good or not when I've never actually read a Marvel comic, let alone a Fantastic Four comic? I only know what other people tell me.
No, and we have to now deal with Hutch and continuity with Marvel too.
He'll be a newbie with that though, so it's fine.
Yeah. It'll be we can
He'll be growing his database right now, live as we speak.
It also means we can gaslight him about a bunch of stuff.
But we can do a show. Okay. We can do a show where we talk about Fantastic Four if we want to go through a classic comic or two.
Oh, I would like that, especially Twitless. I saw your tweet about how it's actually kind of like a dialogue between Greece and Rome philosophy. Like I would love that show. That would be a great show.
Well, that sounds. I like that idea already. So that'll be in the new season of the new show. We'll be talking Fantastic Four. We're going to talk about Avengers versus X-Men as well. And probably Sonic meets DC, right?
I think that would be a fun like light.
Those are fun comics.
So,
Yeah, that's a fun like light read. We don't. No, I have all 5 have been released. You can come over to my house and read them.
And they're kind of like their own continuity, so like
Yeah,
anything that happens in it, you don't have to worry about for either character.
Right.
Sweet.
It's just
that sounds really fun.
It's simple fun, and we can it won't be nearly as contentious. I think. Watch me be wrong on this.
We'll find out. Also, I have to point out the comment. Sad Robot says, "Is Twitless Prime going to punch reality to change the name of the show?"
Yeah, that's what's
That's
gonna
beautiful.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
Can we get a pickle of that?
Well, I don't know.
It's never up
Mrs.
to us.
H
It's
is,
if the
is-
muses
has been
decide.
busy, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll see. I call being Batman of this new whatever.
I'm fine with being Superboy Prime as long as it's before Crisis.
Yeah, for sure. That was a really clever idea, but we don't have time to talk about that right now because we got to wrap the show. We got to call it. And until next time, does anybody have anything they want to pitch before we leave? Or are we just cutting it off?
Yeah, I just want people to go to xanimuschaos.com like always, you know. Go
right.
read my stuff.
Yep.
I went back to my thehutch.com blog so that I can make it a central hub for all my stuff, and you can find everything there. And I found out that it was attacked by Russian hackers a long time ago. So I'm rebuilding it right now, but sometime soon it'll be worth showing off.
All right. Very cool.
Yeah.
I have nothing to talk about. Everything has been in the background, and I have been busy with my new job and my lawn. So that's all I've got. And until next time. Oh, also, you should read Cartoonicus's fun cat comic. It's fun.
If you haven't been keeping up with Kitty's Day Out, just know
I haven't. I'm terrible.
Just know things are about to get crazy.
Real. And of course, Twitless still makes comics. Still, the Omega Girl stuff is out there. So
I've got 2 issues that should be dropping any minute. I'm gonna have to follow up on that. I've literally back-to-back issues for you guys to read. They're really
that's
good.
Awesome. I need to buy some of those because I have been out of the loop.
Hutch, you need to read them. You'd really like Omega Girl.
Skrulls from outer space. I know what Skrulls are.
At least, as long as it's not Hush, I think I'd like it.
Yeah, okay, all right.
No, I'm kidding. Well, I'm not.
It's like one more day.
One
No,
more.
hell no. Okay.
Okay, gotta go. Bye.
Bye.